Detroit Lions fans, what is up? Your boy Will is back in the building. Just happy to be here. Ready to talk some Detroit Lions football. But before we do, hit that subscribe button, man. Hit that subscribe button. We're gonna get into this this offseason that I've been deeming the most juicy offseason since Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. But a lot of you have been looking for me. I got the tea. I got the tea on where I've been, so stick around for that. And I think I got an absolute banger for today. I'm going to talk about what I feel like people are missing, what they're missing when they're talking about the Detroit Lions and this offensive line. I think that a lot of podcasters and a lot of media, they're lying to you about this offensive line. They're trying to create something that I just don't believe that is there. So stay tuned, stay locked in. I think this is going to be a good one. But first, where's Will been, man? Where's Will been? So I'm going to start this thing off with a little quote. It says, originality is the art of concealing your source. Just read between the lines on that one. I've been away, and there's been some things going down, man. If you're watching close, I think you'll understand. But where has Will been? Will's been out there in Knoxville, Tennessee. With my son. He had a 7-on-7 tournament. He was out there doing his thing, man, having a good time. Actually ran into a couple of subscribers to Detroit Den 313 and took some pictures. Shout out to you guys. Really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me for a little bit. That was really cool. Love getting to see you guys when we're out and about and moving around. But Knoxville, man, I do have to say, man, I got to tip my hat. The people there just were so great. So great, so gracious. Southern hospitality, as they say it. People were just phenomenal. I don't know, man. I'm not used to it. In Michigan, it's we don't have that natural just warmth all the time. Yeah, Knoxville, looking forward to maybe going back sometime soon. Hopefully we got another 7-on-7 or something, or a reason to go back there. I'm even thinking about maybe I grab a cabin or something out there now, man. Had a great time. But getting into the meat and potatoes of today, I feel like a lot of people are talking about the Detroit Lions offensive line, and they're creating this panic like it's the worst thing in the world. I'm hearing, as I listen to different podcasts, bits and pieces, and seeing the shorts, people saying we need a center, we need a guard, we need a tackle. It just makes it feel like, to me, people believe that we don't have anything. And I think it's the furthest thing from the truth. I think there's a couple of different ways that the Detroit Lions can go with this offensive line, and I'm going to get into those today. And I think that there's an unsung hero or potential hero that everybody's forgetting about for some reason. I'll start right there. Miles Frazier. Late draft pick, 5th-round draft pick. This is a guy who played over 2,500 college football snaps and only gave up 4 sacks. What are we talking about? All right, 1,500 pass drops, right, and gave up 4 sacks. What are we talking about? We're talking about keeping Jared Goff up on his feet, and this is a guy that we're completely forgetting about for the Detroit Lions. He has a strong potential, to me, to be a guy who competes for a starting role going into this next season. And if he does he take one of those guard positions off the table? I'd say so. Man, we might be into a situation where we got 3 freaking good guards. We got 3 of them. You could be talking about Tate as a good guard. You could be talking about Christian Mahogany as a good guard. And then you could be talking about Miles Frazier as a good guard. So this panic that people are trying to create, this narrative that this offensive line is absolutely in shambles, is just not true. And if you're a football guy, you or gal, you understand that. So that's why I want to talk about this today. I just think that there's some big time misinformation being put out there, and I'm just sick of seeing it on Twitter. We got to draft the center. We got to draft the guard. We got to draft the No, it's just not what it is. And I don't think it's necessarily the route that Brad's going to go. I know Brad's not going to panic. I know Dad's not going to panic. So that said, continuing on with Miles Frazier, I think you could be looking at an offensive line that looks like this. Tate Ratledge moving over to the center position. You got Christian Mahogany and Miles Frazier on both sides of him. You got Panay Sewell, just the absolute all-pro dog leading the charge, and then we could just draft a tackle. And I think there will be a tackle there in the first round. I think there'll be a tackle there in the second round, and then I think there'll be a potential, as I've been going through these tackles in the draft, that you could trade up to the third round and also get a tackle. There's right tackles that are going to be available all over this draft. There is no reason to panic. I think the Detroit Lions offensive line is sitting in a phenomenal spot if these guys can play at an elite level. This thing kind of just boils down to, can Tate play center? If Tate can play center, man, this thing looks good rather than us being in a panic, man. So I think we need to pump the brakes. Let's slow down a little bit and let's get back to reality and kind of put our Brad Holmes hats on. Brad Holmes is not going to make all of these crazy trades in the draft and go get Tyler Linderbaum and go draft a tackle and draft a guy. I just don't see that being what's going to happen. I think that we're going to, some of it's going to get addressed in free agency, and I think that some of it already has been addressed, and I'll get into that as well. But sometimes we got to slow down and really take a strong look at the big picture of things. So what I mean when I say that there's some other moves that Brad could make, because I think there's two routes that this thing goes. You could see us move Tate and depend on Tate being the center with both those guards, like I said, or there's a different route. There's a route to where Tate stays at guard. There's a competition to see who those starting guards are going to be. You got three strong candidates to be those starting guards. And then you go out in free agency and you go get somebody. A couple of months ago, I couldn't sleep. I go on these tangents where I just stay up all night and I'm watching film and I'm looking at players. And a player that I gave Steve to look at, actually a couple of them, but one that I'm talking about today is Connor McGovern. Right? He's a guy that I knew wouldn't break the bank, but I saw Steve talked about him a little bit the other day, and what he failed to acknowledge is why I was so high on Connor McGovern being a Detroit Lion. And the reason is not just his play. Hey, listen, there's a bunch of good football players. The reason was this: dude can play, dude's a veteran, but on top of that, the Buffalo Bills are going to be, as it stands right now, $10 million over the cap, right? And they also have a young, hungry Georgia Bulldog, 25 years old, that's ready to step in for Connor if he doesn't get re-signed. That's the reason why Connor McGovern is my target for the Detroit Lions at the center position. And I think that if you go get him, you don't break the bank. He's just replacing a contract that we lost that we took off the books in Frank Ragnow, and cheaper, most likely at that. And you got an opportunity to still go out and make this offensive line look like this. So you get an elite center in the middle of this thing. You got Tate Ratledge, you got Christian Mahogany, you got Panay, and then you go out and draft one of these tackles in the draft. You still got an opportunity to potentially draft a defender or a couple of defenders. We talked about safeties. I've talked about linebackers. It gives you versatility in this draft, and I don't think that Brad Holmes is going to allow himself to go into the NFL draft and have to get players that need to play immediately. I don't think that he's going to have his arm twisted to where if the player that he wants doesn't fall to him, then he's in trouble. I just don't see Brad doing that. I think he's too smart to do that. So my expectation is one of these two things is going to happen. We're going to go out and go get a center in free agency, or we're going to move Tate over and we're only going to be looking for one offensive lineman piece when it comes draft day, all the while knowing that they're draped all over the draft. Now, there isn't a lot of left tackles in this draft, but there's right tackles draped all over this freaking draft. And I think obviously the world knows, I'm not breaking any news here, Panay Sewell could move over to the left. We bring somebody else in, have them play right tackle, and we will be just fine. This thing will turn into a young, hungry offensive line. Also, as I went through looking at these draft prospects, there's 5 centers that I like in this draft. So we could potentially bring a center in free agency, right? And then on top of that, go get us a young center to be the answer long term. I don't know, trade into the 3rd round and go get one. That's probably the spot that I would like to see us do it. Or maybe late 2nd round, trade in, go get one, or just select one with our 2nd round pick. That's not the route that I would necessarily want to go. I'd rather see us trade into the 3rd, or if they slide to the 4th, go grab one, because there's a couple that I think could end up being there later on in this draft, and guys who have tremendous upside, especially if they don't have to play right away. But that's more of the route realistically that I see these Detroit Lions going. And I just don't believe in this narrative. I think there's a false narrative being put out that this offensive line situation is a situation where we're in dire need to get people. It's just not that. It's not that at all. And also, the Detroit Lions made a sneaky good move that I feel like people aren't talking about as well. As we talk about the center position, right? We got another piece, man, that I feel like just going completely under the radar. This is a guy who started in Alabama. This is a guy who started at Ohio State, played football at an elite level, and is known for his tremendous intelligence, elite intellectual, being able to recognize fronts. He's got the size, 6'4", 310 pounds. This is a guy who has tremendous amounts of upsides as well as a depth piece. If you're telling me that if we do this right here, if we were to do this right here, we go out and get Connor, right? We draft a tackle. We got a young, strong offensive line, and then you're telling me I could have Seth on the bench. I could have Miles on the bench, right? So I got 2 absolute starting caliber guys sitting on my bench to come in. If somebody goes down throughout the season, I think that we could see a really good push for this Detroit Lions offensive line moving forward. And you're not going to have to break the bank. You're not going to have to do anything crazy. I think it just absolutely makes sense, man. So I just want to give some pushback. This narrative, I hate it. I'm sick of hearing it. The Detroit Lions offensive line is not terrible. It's not in shambles. It's not going to take 3 players to get on it to turn this thing around. Literally, if Tate can play center, it could be us just drafting a tackle and going on with our business. That could be the situation. And if we do what I think will be most likely, which is to go out and get one of these centers in free agency and draft a tackle, then we will have just a great situation to give Coach Petzing, to where if somebody gets banged up, we're going to bring a starting caliber player into this fold. So, guys, I want to know, do you think I'm crazy? Do you think that I'm simplifying this thing too much? Because as a football person that really looks at these things, I just don't see the narrative of creating a panic in offensive line. I think we've addressed offensive line over the seasons like we've needed to. I think it could be better. There's still a potential that we could even get more depth if some more guys develop and come over in free agency. I think that there's an opportunity with us being able to create money with restructuring our deals. There's going to be a lot of money that could be available to the Detroit Lions. And I see a world to where you could even get more pieces for this offensive line, but I wanted to keep it conservative. Bringing in Connor, drafting an offensive lineman just makes absolute sense. It's not crazy. It'd be an easy move to make, and we could still get some defensive pieces to try to make this defense elite. I think it's what the Detroit Lions need to do. I think it is what we will see in some way or form. So leave it in the comments. Let me know if you think that I'm on par. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, and I will be back with another one.